angle. Sorry.
There were people down here. There are seats down here. It's very unfortunate for everybody. Got here late. Or I guess bought the tickets late. Sorry, guys. Yeah, that's a bummer.
So thank you for being here. Good to see you. Congratulations on this.
Thank you.
You were just up in the wings up there just for a few minutes there again. And actually, when the little cameo by Marjorie Taylor Greene came on screen, and everyone got to see that, everyone had a great reaction to that. So before I talk about where this all came from, I want to jump right into asking about all the minutiae, the decoration that you did to fill out this movie with, from the sheriff's truck and all that signage, all the toilet paper stacked up, the artwork, all the doodling kind of in the margins of the film. What was that like for you with your production team, just creating the world through all these small details?
Well, that tends to be a big part of just making my movies is bombarding the art team with more things that they have to do. For a film like I Was Afraid, it's all invented. That's like a gag machine sort of. But with this one, it was about kind of reaching into culture and pulling things out as opposed to making things up. So for his car, it's just like it's just a bunch of memes. His car should look like the internet. When I started writing this in late May, early June 2020, I was working on both, so I didn't have time to really live in it, but I knew that I needed to grab as much of that moment as I could, so that when I came back to it, it wasn't just retrospective. And so I got myself into a bunch of different Twitter algorithms. I started a bunch of burner profiles. And so I had mine, which was, very left-leaning, but I still, or very left, not left-leaning. But I wouldn't say the actual algorithm was left-leaning, because you still get crazy shit that has nothing to do with anything that you believe. But then I got myself into like a very conservative one. I got myself into like a full-blown like Nazi one, which is now pretty much just X. But that was really useful because I just took like a million screenshots and put it into a file called Eddington. But also because part of the experiment was then trying to get myself out of those algorithms and trying to re-curate it. And I could start, summoning new stuff, but I was stuck. And so, anyway, yeah.
At the very end, too, it's a sideways phone we're actually looking at. We're seeing this kid who was a sort of a faux activist and became a conservative influencer, which is a small, very tiny part, sort of Easter egg, is a much bigger story, but a very relevant one. And he's talking to the great actor James Woods, who's now a sort of a right-wing icon, and he says something about Big Mike. And I had looked that up to realize he was talking about Michelle Obama and their whole theory that she's a trans woman. But in a way, it's brilliant to...
It's not. I'm just putting it all in.
Well,
it's not mine.
But that's what I love, is that there's like a photograph of Bill Gates on the truck, and it's like, who knows exactly...
The right Bill Gates is a big one.
Yeah.
He's if you're deep in there, he is the architect of everything bad. Yeah.
So going to the origins of this, you wanted to make a Western, and this is before 2020. And have you even you sort of develop the idea of a sheriff and maybe like a sort of competition in a small town?
Well, I'm from New Mexico, and so I always wanted to make a movie set in New Mexico. And I did have a Western that I wrote a while ago. Like, it was supposed to be my first film, or I tried. And that did have a sheriff character, and there were, like, you know, feuding locals, but that's it. Yeah, it was really in 2020 during COVID where I just felt like, yeah, this all feels familiar, but this is also like I've never felt this before, and everything had like reached a boiling point. Obviously, you guys know, but it felt like it was going to boil over any minute or explode, and it just felt like violence was like coming, and I wanted to like. I wanted to make something that felt very contemporary, like something that was very modern, and it was, you know, kind of inflected by a truly modern realism, which I guess is just another way of saying every character lives in the internet. But I also felt like, you know, how do you do that? Because everything just is always changing, and just nothing lasts for like longer than a minute, and then there's a new thing, and so I just knew that it would help if it were like 1 week, and no matter what, like that week will be an anchor for me. So no matter what changes, like this won't stop being relevant. And I felt it. I was like, whatever happens, wherever this goes, this is worth trying to get my hands around.
And you actually said when people have asked you ever since the film premiere in Cannes, people keep asking you what is it about, and you actually had a one-sentence answer to that question, which will surprise a lot of people, I think. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Right. Well, I don't know if it will surprise you because it's definitely there, but it's about a data center being built. It's arguably only really about that. Like it's like that's like all the things that happen in like with a capital H, like that's what happens. And all the stories and all the characters in this movie are just like training data. The movie is training data. Yeah. Was that?
Can you clarify?
Can I clarify? I'm trying to be like poetic here. I feel like more and more people are looking to art for like to be like prescriptive, and I don't agree that that's what the role of art is. I did want to make a film that was like inscrutable. I wanted my politics to be hard to parse for a while. I feel that they should be clear by the end. And that was important to me, that by the end you're not completely, but I wanted to make a movie that like felt like this environment, and where I don't know what the fuck is happening. But it feels really bad. So I guess I wanted to make a movie that felt really bad. And hopefully, I don't know. I've been hungry for things that are about what's happening right now, what it feels like. Because, it's like, I imagine most people feel this way. I feel really like lonely and scared and powerless, and I feel like intense dread all the time, and it gets worse, not better. And sometimes that can be like relieving. It should just like feel a little bit less alone, and that you see like your experience of the world on the screen. I'm not saying this actually does that, but that was kind of the hope. And I have people in my life who are in very different algorithms, and I can't reach them. And they're really scared too. And they're really angry too. And we have absolutely different pictures of the world. And we're looking at the world through totally different windows. And those windows are distorted. My window is distorted. I'm trying, like, I wish I could get rid of it, but I wish I could get my head through it. But
I read a comment on the internet about how the first half of the movie is about COVID, and the second half is about what the COVID era did to us. And maybe that's a way to, because I mean, it's clarifying stuff. I don't want you to be in a position to having to like kind of spill all the background on what was in there, but I think people have misunderstood perhaps that when we see that airplane, that is a real turning point in the narrative.
right.
It comes out of the sun literally, and also it's like a hand over the earth, basically.
Right. The globalist icon.
But who those guys are has been very misunderstood, or maybe not.
Well, look, that's a major pivot point in the film. I was actually somebody sent me something today, but somebody was getting upset online about what they thought that scene like signified, and they were like, "This is what Ari's afraid of. This is what he believes." It's like, okay, what the fuck? I really don't want to have to explain this, but yeah, that's where the movie becomes paranoid too. And again, I like the idea of the film being inscrutable. There's a danger to that. But that's where the movie either like announces itself very clearly as like a satire, or where it becomes about what happened. I don't think that there were Antifa super soldiers. Private jet. You heard it here first. Also, we've been holding back. We've been pretty coy about this, but
it brings you to see some of the, I mean, it's a pure original, but you did have other movies that you love as, not references, but things that you wanted to show your crew for production, like JFK, Oliver Stone's JFK, which is sort of itself like a paranoid fever dream of a movie. And I thought of Chinatown. I don't know if, because it shares the same name as the John Huston character, who also is molesting his own daughter, which we can sort of assume happened in the backstory of this film, though it's never said outright. What was that like for you to sort of embrace films that you love of the past and talk about it with your crew and just get them in the mood for what you want to do here?
Well, I love Chinatown. I would never presume to mention it in the same breath as the film, but I do love it. And there weren't a lot of movies that were like were at the front of mind. I was thinking about genre tropes, and this is like a paranoid political thriller. So of course Chinatown comes to mind when you think of those, or Parallax View, or there's so many. The big influence on the movie was the internet and like Twitter. That was what I wanted the movie to to feel like that. I feel like we're living in this time of absolute obscenity, and so I wanted the movie to be really obscene in a way. It's gotten so much more obscene, but I feel like the movie's like not obscene enough now. I had this idea recently, and I wish I wouldn't have been able to do it. Nobody here take this, but I wish I could have like broken up the movie by like Pornhub ads. You have to wait for 5 seconds to skip it, and then it goes back to the movie, and then it'll be like right in the middle of the scene. Anyway, I'm gonna do that. So nobody do it, and you'll see.
Earlier in the movie, when he comes home, his mother-in-law is watching a YouTube video about the number 54, I think. Who's the voice that we hear?
Yeah, it's me.
I just wanted to confirm that. I recognized it.
It's not like you're just not camping. No, it's just because it's hard to get actors to come into the ADR. It's just like, whenever you hear me, it's just because I don't want to, it's just like too much. It's like another casting thing I have to do.
So this is the second film in a row with Joaquin Phoenix. And in the two movies, I think more than almost anything he's done since he was a young actor, I've recognized like the little boy in him, like in Parenthood, in your movies more than almost anything. Like just that vulnerability, like it's his eyes, it's his fear, his sort of the trembling quality. What is your relationship like? Because obviously you guys clearly work well together, but does he fuel your creativity?
Yeah. Sorry, I was trying to think of something funny to say in relation to him becoming a little boy. I'll leave it alone. That was really preoccupying me. I almost didn't quite get the question. But Joaquin is somebody who's really exciting to work with most of the time. Because, with very, very clear exceptions. Because he's somebody who is really hard on himself and on the movie in a way that I find very activating. And I was surprised to find that he's somebody who needed to rehearse a lot and really wanted to rehearse a lot, and that I like to do. But he's somebody who he wants to sit with the script for a long time. Like we talked about this for like a year in advance, and he wants to. He has a lot of questions that he wants to ask. And on Bo, I spent a lot of that time kind of trying to come up with answers for him. And I started to realize when we were shooting, like, the point is not to have answers. The point is to find the question that is activating. And then keep the question. Like, don't answer it. The answer will be somewhere in whatever you do. And so that's a really exciting way of approaching work, and so I think we connect on that level. That he really, it's not, he'll challenge just about everything, but it's not like the script changes or the words change. It's just that he, I think, for him it's like, how is this not going to be another movie scene or like a thing that I've seen before? And I think that's a very valuable question when you're making a movie. And so it's been a good collaboration.
Just great. Just two other questions. I do want to talk much about visual strategy, but the two things that I noticed thinking about the movie was there's very few close-ups, and I wondered if that was is sort of a commentary on social distancing. There are, when they are there, they're very purposeful. And also, the thing we've done in other films, but it's so effective here, is that camera that pans left and right from a sort of a locked position, which really increases the sense of paranoia, I think. Can you talk a little about what you wanted to achieve visually? Like, you know, if you can articulate too much of it, I mean, I know it's not easy.
Well, there's nothing. It's very hard to put words to that, or because it's not like we can't. It's not like Darius and I had like some, scheme here. I would say more and more it's intuitive for me, and I used to shot list long in advance of even having my crew or actors, which means that I also was figuring out blocking without anybody, and that I think results in even if you're like trying to imagine it in like a messy way, it's still there's like no chance for like spontaneity or anything surprising you, and I since Bo have been holding off on shot listing as long as I can, basically until I rehearse with the actors, unless it's like a small scene, and I'll it's simple enough, and I'll just click up coverage for it. I would say New Mexico is this is an obvious thing to say, but we wanted to get New Mexico right, and I know that region, I know that state really, really well, and there's there's a palette to New Mexico that's very unique, and the sun is really intense, and I know Darius and I talked about like we can't do that like gold thing, like it's got to be like white light, like hard, harsh white light. And there was a lot of talking about how are we going to handle the shooters in a distance at the end, the fact that we never really see them. And I think one thing I said to him early on, and that I had in my mind while I was shot listing, and that we had while we were shooting and while he was lighting, and was that was another thing where we wanted it to feel like the internet, like people shooting from the dark. You don't know who's coming at you. Yeah.
So lastly, I'm curious. I went actually onto the Ari Aster subreddit today, just to get sort of lost in all of the talk on there about this movie, and a lot of it is really engaged and exciting. People, there's a layer where they know that they're not tapped into all the conspiracy theories that pop up in the film, but they know what they are. What is your wish for audiences to take away from this? I mean, I think you said before that in a way the movie is sort of, you might have said this, but that it's designed to polarize, and perhaps not exactly, but we're designed to not necessarily have a unanimous opinion by every audience member.
I wouldn't say that I was trying to polarize. The movie's about polarization, and in some ways I wanted to make a film that was very empathetic in multiple directions. I didn't want to reduce anybody, and I didn't want to be I didn't want this to become like an ideological screed. The film is kind of about people getting lost in these ideological wars while like other things happen like above them.
so it was important to me to like kind of turn a mirror on myself and like question myself and also like try to find the humanity in the people that I tend to abhor and see as standing against me. And yeah, I wanted to make a movie about, I wanted to pull back as far as I could and make a movie about the structure of reality at the moment, which is that nobody agrees on what is happening. And we're all fortressed off from each other, and we're not reachable to each other. And how sad that is, and how scary it is, and how irreversible it feels. And if there's anything, maybe, I keep hearing the word like nihilistic thrown at me, and it's like, that bums me out kind of, because I don't feel that I'm nihilistic, but I feel heartbroken, but I feel like if there's anything maybe potentially hopeful in this movie, it's that it is a period piece. Like maybe we can look back at the way we were, and maybe see just a little bit more clearly where we are, and the path that we're on, and question, do we want to stay on this path? And I don't have the answers because I'm just a lowly filmmaker. But it does feel like we're living out an experiment that has already like failed really badly, and people who are at the levers have no interest in slowing it down. In fact, with AI, so I'll go magic card, we're like strapping jetpacks to this thing that we're like to the train that we're on, and I don't know.
Well, I just want to add that despite what you were just referring to in terms of the future dread, great movies just energize me after I see them. I walk away this thing, seeing what this crowd is now, just feeling so charged up and so grateful that it existed and you took a big swing. So, on behalf of everybody, thank you so much for doing this.
This is probably not necessary. When somebody says something like that, I always imagine the people in the theater who hate the movie. And I'm sorry. Maybe I just want to see how I answer for myself.
I guess go to the thing, so you guys can just stay here while he gets out. But thanks everybody.
Thank you very much. Thank you.